I ready to go crazy.
I gotta grind till there's nothing left. Every day I'ma make it, gotta give it my best. Feel like I'm running out of time now with niggas stress. So I stack every dollar, gotta double the check. And my team, we going hard, so watch me finesse. I chase a bag, ain't no time to rest. I can't stop till I got my name on it. I'm going until I get everything I want. I want a big house with a backyard with the pool in it. And a fish tank in my big house, so if we got beef, we throwing food in. I need a big car with some nice rims with the roof lit, so I can do the dash, then swerve, bitch, I went to school with. Another house up on the hill, so my mama be straight. A couple acres of that land, so my siblings could play. And if my daddy acting right, I put food on his plate. So when I finally get that chance, I'ma do what it take. I want 100K on my wrist, I shine bright when the lights low. Another 100K on my neck, VVS looking like white snow. Maybe courtside with Drake and them. 2 chains in my album, so I chase it back by any means. Hoping one of them will be the outcome, and I will. Grind to the death of me. Family, money, and loyalty be the recipe. I will do what it take to make my mama proud. On the road to them riches, so you can't stop me now. I gotta grind till there's nothing left. Every day I'ma make it, gotta give it my best. Feel like I'm running out of time now with niggas stress. So I stack every dollar, gotta double the check. And my team, we going hard, so watch me finesse. I chase a bag, ain't no time to rest. I can't stop till I got my name on it. I'm going until I get everything I want. I got big dreams like Martin Luther and Malcolm X. If I had a million men just to walk with me, I could worry less. The state gave a couple my niggas years, so I do the stretch. And when they touch down, back to the grind like they never left.
To make it relatable and let's change going is to give you inspiration. Get inspired. Tune in to Hop the Series Wednesdays at 8 p.m.
Hello. Welcome to this week's edition of Uphill Battle. Hopefully everybody's had a good week. A lot of interesting things have taken place throughout the week in politics and in the world in general. Where we are going to discuss the key points of this week's primaries throughout the country, especially the fallout of 3 DSA candidates winning in New York, and discuss the upcoming primaries on Tuesday, which another DSA candidate will be running in Colorado to dethrone to dethrone an incumbent who first took office when the DSA candidate was born the same year they first took office in 1997. Another display on how politics has become generational and out of touch. And when your opponent took office the year that you were born, and that was 30 years ago, how do they actually still have the pulse of the electorate of today? But I digress. How you doing this week, son?
Shoot, great. Like you said, it was a lot of fun and exciting stuff going on this year or this week around politics, specifically in New York City. I live in New York City, so it's been really, interesting to get the commentary and actually, I live and work in 2 of the districts that we're going to talk about today. So it's going to be really, really fun to get to it.
Well, let's start off right there. Let's start. I mean, everything. I often say, and we always say politics are local. You always start with local politics, and then it actually branches off. Another thing that I like to say, and I have said for years, is, and many people identify, New York is a catalyst, but New York is a different world.
Yeah.
But I think in this situation, New York is going to be the jump off because being the biggest city in the world and the largest economy, this says something. So let's dig into it. Let's dig into these three races. Actually, if
Yeah,
you want to be technical, it was eight races because a lot of people are leaving the fact that five state representatives also got won their
yeah,
primaries that were but were also endorsed by Mayor Madani. So let's get into it.
yeah. Endorsed by Mayor Mamdani, and also along with that, the DSA, the Democratic Socialists, as well. So yeah, like you said, let's get into it. Um, New York City, it's interesting because like you said, it is a catalyst, but it's also its own thing. It's important to look at, um, because New York City, it's obviously a very Democratic leaning city. All these districts are, if you win the Democratic nomination, you're going to win in the general. Some of these, and I have to look, they're probably not going to have an actual Republican challenger. It'll be interesting to see if
No,
there's any independent challengers that jump in, but I highly doubt it for many of these races. But it's important to see where the Democratic Party is at, where the voters of the Democratic Party are at. And also with New York City being as diverse as it is, I mean, there's parts of Queens where we're going to talk about it in New York 7th, where Queens is the most diverse county in the country. It's one of the most diverse places in the world. Literally, everyone from every country lives in Queens. So, yeah, let's get into it. I guess we can start. Well, let's start with just laying out the landscape of these elections. So, coming into this, and the three we're mainly going to focus are on um, New York 7, which encompasses parts of Brooklyn and Queens, and that's an open seat because the current representative is Nydia Velasquez, and she decided not to seek re-election, so she weighed in and she endorsed the candidate Antonio Reynosa, who actually is currently the Brooklyn Borough president, and he's also very important. And I'll just touch on it now and then come back to it. He is also a progressive. He is a progressive. He's on the left. Um,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dallas. Your camera. You can't see your camera. You blacked out.
you
Um,
can't see me.
no,
Hold on. Hold on. What about now?
no, you still black. You want to step out and come back in?
Hold on. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I'll do
Yeah,
that.
let's step out and come back in. It's a black box. About what he I'll filibuster for a second, but yeah, Reynoso, who was the Brooklyn Borough still you still blacked out. It's not picking up your camera. It, maybe it's not face fronting. I don't know.
Ah, dang. Hold on. Let me see. Let me get this.
Yeah, it was real interesting because Velasquez had is retiring, but she actually put all her weight behind the Brooklyn Borough president, who Dallas was saying it was a progressive. Um, but I think what we really need to do in the future. Yeah, I see you now. I think what I was talking about how like Reynoso was a progressive.
Yeah.
These labels, a lot of time I think people don't understand the label, and you can be a lot of times people say they're liberal and they think that that's a progressive, but it's levels to this,
Yeah.
and that's why we're as though the centrist, which is a moderate, and then it's the DSA, which is the Socialist Party, um, but they're democratic socialists.
Hmm.
When somebody says they're a democratic socialist, that still means in most being they want socialism to work with capitalism side by side, but to an extent where as though they want democratic elections, and they're looking for more power or to the people.
Hmm.
But go ahead, finish what you were saying. That we down that we can see you.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, Reynosa, so when I say progressive, he supports taxing the rich. He supports Medicare for all. Supports a lot of things when it comes to housing. He, again, like I said, he's a progressive. So in this race, what you had was Antonio Reynosa versus Claire Valdez. Claire Valdez, she comes from a union background, and like a working class union background. And she was also just finishing up her first term in the New York State Assembly. So she's running on a lot of economic issues, a lot of social issues. They're here. They're at this. They agree with each other. The difference in this race is Israel. The difference in all of these races that we're going to touch on is Israel. So in New York Seven in specific, so what Claire Valdez's campaign was hitting Reynosa on is you've been in politics, you've been the borough president for years now. You haven't said anything on the issue of Israel. You haven't said anything on the issue of Gaza until you decided to run for Congress because you knew it was going to be a big issue. So it's saying you're saying like okay you're against sending weapons to Israel, you're against all these other things. Well, how once you if you actually get in the office, are you actually going to stand up for that? Are you actually going to stand to that because all this time you haven't said anything about it? So what does that actually say about your position on it and how strong in your convictions are they actually going to be once you actually get to office? So and her saying, hey, I've been on this issue since since we started. I've been speaking about this. So that's in New York Seven. I'll come back to that. That's
You
how
know what that
suspicious
sounds
that I
like?
have been. Yeah.
That sounds like the John Fetterman problem to me.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
it,
and yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, for those
yeah.
that know, Fetterman, who's a senator in Pennsylvania, never had a position on Israel. You didn't know he never talked about international affairs. So when it came about, and he basically was a quote unquote progressive, but his voting record and his ties, and he has fell to the APAC lobby. And so people are
Hmm.
thinking they got sold a false bag of goods. But
Yeah.
go ahead. That's New York Seven. That's your home. That's your home district.
Yeah. So that's New York Seven. Um, then you have New York 10. New York 10. This one, there's an incumbent that's running. That's Dan Goldman. He had been. I
Strong
think this he
incumbent.
was. Yeah, I think he was. This was he was running for his third term within Congress. So this would have been his third term that he
Hmm.
would have been seeking, and he had a challenger, Brad Lander. Brad Lander, very interesting enough, he ran for mayor in this last mayoral election that just passed. He was the former New York City comptroller, and so he was running for mayor. He saw the writing on the wall. His campaign wasn't going to be as successful running behind Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo. So he decided to drop out and endorse Mamdani instantly. And it's very important to highlight this because Mamdani was not going to win the Democratic primary without the endorsement of Brad Lander. There was a lot of energy behind Mamdani, but again, with the ranked choice voting and how that shook up, getting cross endorsing is very, very important. And Brad Lander was basically running third in that race. So for him to come in and say, hey, for my supporters, if you're not ranking me first, rank Mamdani. And if you're not going to rank Mamdani first, rank him second behind me. Again, in the ranked choice voting, first, second, third, all those kind of votes, all those kind of things matter. So Brad Lander coming in, also Brad Lander being Jewish, legitimized Mamdani because a lot of the attacks against Mamdani was that he was an anti-Semite, even though he hadn't said anything that was anti-Semitic. He had only ever been critical of Israel and the Israeli government,
And
and
being Muslim.
yeah, and also the fact that
Being
that he is a
being
Muslim man.
Muslim.
Yes. So Brad Lander, he living in New York 10. This encompasses parts of Lower Manhattan as well as some parts of Brooklyn. So this is Wall Street, the financial district, which very interestingly enough, even though there is a lot of money that's generated from that area, that's not necessarily the people that live in those areas. So again, it's not. There are wealthy parts of this district, but it's just to say it's even though it represents a lot of money, it's not necessarily a gigantically wealthy district, or even though there is wealth there.
Let me interject right there so
Yeah.
people can understand. If you like, for instance, if you know Atlantic City has all these big casinos, but the casinos are next to projects.
Hmm.
I mean, the, a lot of just Wall Street district is the same way.
Hmm.
I'm in Delaware. If you think Delaware is the home of credit cards and banks,
Exclusively.
the city district has big banks and big buildings, and then you go 3 blocks over and you have projects,
Hmm.
low income area. A lot of these places, Wall Street is the same way. They get tax breaks for setting up in a certain area. So
Hmm.
they promise jobs, they promise reinvention of the area and things like that. So that's why they set up. So people automatically assume because these big companies are placed in these areas that the areas are affluent and they're working class neighborhoods, and
Hmm.
that New York 10 is no different. And another big thing that I want to add on to that, Goldman was a rising star because he actually prosecuted Donald Trump in his first impeachment
Hmm.
hearing back
Yeah.
in 2020. That's how he got into office, and basically being a rubber stamp for APAC. Um,
Yeah.
But and we'll get into APAC and ranked choice voting more later, when we go over the DSA platform. And
Sure.
what now you saved the best for last because this
Oh
was
wait.
my favorite one.
Yeah, but also to touch on in New York 10 before we really dive into all these races is that it's also the second largest Jewish population in the city, the district with the second largest Jewish population in the city. Again, very important to highlight that these are two Jewish individuals
Yes,
right next to each other, and the issue that separated the both of them was Israel. It was Israel. Brad Lander also, by the way, he is not a member of the DSA. So, but he
he's
is on the
not.
left, but he is not a member of the DSA.
He
So
is not
again,
a.
and running against Dan Goldman, some of these issues, again, they are both to the left. I would even say Goldman is also not. He's not necessarily an establishment centrist figure. I wouldn't necessarily lump him in that camp, but he's also not as far left as the other candidates that are running, or even Brad Lander is. But that's also to say Brad Lander isn't as left as the other candidates are as well.
He's he's liberal.
Yeah.
He's liberal, but he is not. He's not part of the DSA.
Yes.
And these are also labels that we will break down later, because the bottom line is, that what we need to encompass is, no matter how you identify, you should always, especially if you are black
Hmm.
and 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 you are marginalized, you should identify with the candidate's policy. Do not go by whatever label that is being put forth in front of them, because the fact that we only have a two-party system it gets very convoluted, to where as though people stand for different things, but they, in order to get to the mainstream and to get on um, a large enough platform with the balloting, you have to
Hmm.
belong to one of the political parties. You have to run in one of the primaries.
Hmm.
So, but we'll get into that, the whole dismantling of the Democratic Party and how everything is falling apart, and they're running around with their hair on fire because these quote unquote socialists have won some national primaries.
Yeah, of
And
course.
that opens up the leeway to my favorite candidate
Yeah.
in New York 7.
In New York 13. And
I'm
this
30,
race,
13. I'm sorry,
yeah,
13.
and this race, um, so you had an incumbent. This is again not an open seat, so this one there was an incumbent who was running for re-election, and Adriano Espaillat, and he was 5-term incumbent, so he was running for a 6th term. He had been in the House for going on 10 years at this point. Also interesting enough to wanted to point out, he is the first Dominican, what was it? The first Dominican born person to serve within the United States Congress. Also, and he has a very interesting story. Also a very uplifting story. If you go look at his background, he came to this country. He was undocumented. He ended up getting his documentation and stuff, and now he ascended to become a he's been in politics for 30 years. He's been in the House for almost 10, but he's been within local politics for about 30 years. He was replacing a political powerhouse who also replaced the political powerhouse. So we're talking about storied legacies of people of men who are representing this district up in New
And
York
he
13.
owns the Bronx, basically.
Yes. So New
He
York
owns
13,
the Bronx.
it is all of Upper Manhattan. So this is Columbia, this is Harlem, this is Washington Heights, and it's also parts of the Lower Bronx around like Yankee Stadium and everything. So these are the areas that encompass the district. He had a challenger to his left. She's a public defender. She's a PhD student at at some of the CUNY schools. So this is local schools, and she is a political organizer. Her name is Dereliza Avila Chevalier, and she,
Beautiful name. Beautiful name.
yeah, she very and again, like I said, we'll get into this race. I kind of just want to preview these, but in this race, she was out of all of these 3 races that we're talking about. This was the one that was like, ooh, like we'll have to see. This was the most uphill battle that
Yeah.
was fought with the DSA, with the candidate, with Zoran, and they end up coming out on top. So just wanted to highlight these for you. One more thing before we really dive into these things. So in all of these races, Zoran Mamdani, Democratic Socialist Mayor of New York City, he came in and endorsed Claire Valdez, Brad Lander, and Dara Lisa. These completely kind of bucked the system for a couple of reasons. So one, and let me start with this one first. It was in the news, and I think I might even touched on it on a show previously before. But Hakeem Jeffries, he's from New York City, from Brooklyn. Shio Say, he's a is he New York City Council member.
Yes.
He had basically was flirting with the idea of running to challenge Hakeem Jeffries.
Yes.
Zoran Mamdani, again, the newly at this point he's coming off of, I think it was just a primary win. Decided said no, we shouldn't have someone primary Hakeem Jeffries. The way that the DSA works is it's a democratic system. So it's not just like Zoran said, even though he did have the power, as you know, he had just won the primary and everything, he did have the power to basically say like, oh, you know, if you shouldn't do it, maybe that shouldn't happen. But he went to the DSA and he lobbied against the DSA, and the DSA, the members, the board, they voted not to basically endorse a primary challenge against Hakeem Jeffries. So there was a little bit of consternation amongst this specific part of the Democratic Party, the more further left socialist part of the Democratic Party, on where exactly Zoran was going to be. Is it like, okay, well, now I have this power, now I need to, play nicely with the Democratic establishment, or should I just completely just come in and try to continue to take over the Democratic Party through some other seats? And that's basically what he's doing. So he wanted to play nice with Hakeem Jeffries, but for some other incumbents and for other people within the party, it was just free game. AOC, on the other hand, she didn't endorse in any of these elections. She endorsed all of the all of the state legislative candidates, but she failed to come in on any of the congressional candidates because, again, she didn't want to tinkle with that part of the party. So we're talking about 2 people who are heads of this part of the party who are going about their swinging their electoral weight around differently. So specifically in the New York 13 race, Adriano Espaillat, in the mayoral primary last year, he endorsed Andrew Cuomo. It wasn't until after Zoran Mamdani won the primary that Adriano Espaillat decided to come in and be behind Mamdani in the general election, even though Cuomo again ran in the general election as well. But with that endorsement in the general election, came with a little backroom deal that, hey, if I endorse you now, don't endorse a primary challenge against me should it come up, because he already felt the pressure and that something was going to happen there. So then comes around time, Dara Lisa decides she's going to run for office. Zoran, after a couple of months, comes in and, hey, I'm gonna stab SBI in the back. Dara Lisa is going to be the one to get my agenda done in Congress. So comes and endorses her. So very important to highlight that in these races. Also, something I touched on with Antonio Reynoso in New York 7, he was supported by the Working Families Party. With this race also comes down to, as I said, was Israel. It's also the DSA versus the Working Families Party. Again, these are two left organizations, left parties with very similar policy goals in mind.
Very
Oh,
similar.
I mean, like on it, like very, very similar. So for
I
some of these
support a
races to
lot of
shake,
working families candidates. I
exactly,
actually,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, I do.
So it's very interesting to see just how much these race or just how these races end up shaking out. So just to get into it, so we can start right here in New York 7. Again, this is the district where I live. Claire Valdez, she beat Antonio Reynosa by over 20 points. It wasn't close at all. And again, he is coming off of an endorsement by the current sitting congresswoman. He is the current borough president for many parts of this district the neighborhoods that encompass this district, and he lost to someone who was again only a she was this is a first term within the state house. So she is new to politics, and she completely just washed him out of the water. Again, it wasn't even close, and what that comes down to again was just this issue of Israel. And it's very interesting to see how much that played a part in all of these elections, because again, that shows you where the Democratic Party is, where the base of the Democratic Party is, and where they're standing specifically on this issue of Israel, our involvement with Israel, our support of Israel, and then as well as talking about affordability, talking about things when it comes to housing, education, when it comes to transportation, when it comes to medical care and health care, all these kind of things. It just highlighted a very it's very as I said, and I'll hand it over to you before we get into some of these other races. But it's just very exciting to see where the base of the Democratic Party is, and it's also disheartening to see how much the establishment is upset with it, and how they're blaming everyone other than themselves for this hunger from the Democratic voters.
Son, the craziest thing is my position has always been where the voters are coming around to. And I think a lot of it has to do with the simple fact that people are getting more educated on the actual occupation of Israel
Hmm.
and the amount that Israel actually has a stronghold into American politics. People know who APEC are now. People know that billions of dollars from many states, many red and blue states, they own Israeli bonds. The country is propped up by America and propped up by the taxpayers of America. Many Americans didn't know this and didn't have a concept and don't care, didn't care. It's only when it's coming the term that it's been getting a lot of people in trouble when the chickens come home to roost and they actually see what's going on. United States is struggling. Israel has free health care. Israel has free housing. Israel has free education. It's all paid by the government, but it's also propped up by the American dollar, by taxpayer dollars. How can this foreign entity have all these things and we are actually propping up and supporting it and funding it, but you don't have it at home? These are things that the electorate is seeing, and actually when a candidate actually brings it to the forefront and says, I want to worry about people here first. It's the, it's the shit that the Republican Party that Trump was pushing out about America first, but these people actually mean. That's why it's the issue. It's not just the Israel. It's not the people trying to make it seem like if you are anti-genocide, you are anti-Israel, and you are anti. They were trying to say Lander was anti-Semitic when he's Jewish.
Come on now. Yeah.
Let me explain something to you, and I'm going to say it. Can you, these Zionists and these people think if you actually talk out about the state of it, it's not the people, it's the government.
Mm-hmm.
People sit on this daggone Beyonce internet every day and scream about Trump and scream about the administration. Or they try to make it seem like that is anti-American. But freedom of speech and the concept of the fact is you love the country so much that you call it out on this bullshit. I would say this. We all got family members that don't do right. Do you stand by and allow your family member to continue not to do right, to do wrong, or do you call them out on their shit? Does that mean you don't love your family member? Or is that you actually loving your family member and saying, I need you to do better? I'm a parent. I love my children. But and Dallas can call. It's been many, not too many days because my kids been good to me and been good people. But if I think you are doing not right or going down the wrong path, I need to grab you and say, "Hey, you ain't doing right. We need to curb this type of aggression, this type of this policies that we're this lane that we're running down."
Yeah.
Establishment candidates want the status quo because they want to keep on getting their money, they want to keep on getting their endorsements, and they live in a United States that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There can never be a Joe Biden ever again. There cannot be, and the craziest thing at the end of Joe Biden's reign, he was more progressive than Barack Obama.
Yep.
People reiterate now because we're 10 years out. Barack Obama was not a progressive. He was a centrist, moderate Democrat that sold America on some type of hope and change. But he was a good president in the ideology of being the American president. But for people like me that are left to him, he fell short on some of the things that we wanted. And that's not to say I disagree with him being elected as president. I voted for him twice. But on that concept, real quick, like many people that look like me, to popular demand, black people don't vote for people just because they black.
Yeah.
I came into the primary season a Hillary Clinton supporter. He had to prove to me and people like me that he was electable. But this was 18 years ago when you viewed voting for somebody as hurt negligence, the lesser of two evils, somewhat. You voted so whereas though your interest will not be trampled on. It's a good voting strategy, but it was never about he's the, not for me and not for black people that actually are politically savvy. You don't just automatically vote for the black person. And they actually use that against some uneducated voters, especially when a black person is a Republican. If you ever
Hmm.
if you ever and I've said this plenty of times on other if a black person is on a Republican ticket, they never when they put their picture and their yard signs, they never put the party that they're in. They just put their picture
Hmm.
and their name because they know vehemently a lot of times black people will see a black person and then they'll see the Republican logo and they be like, oh, I'm not voting for them.
Yeah.
But let's dig into the actual races so we can get into this breakdown of the DSA.
Yeah, so that's so in New York 7, like I said, Claire Valdez, she beat Reynosa by over 20 points. In New York 10, Brad Lander, he beat Dan Goldman by well over 30 points. Again, this
Was it
was
30? Yeah.
yeah, this wasn't close. This was like I think it was the second largest incumbent loss in the primary. I think only Liz Cheney when she ran for re-election back in was it 2022 in Wyoming, and she lost re-election. I think this is the second largest and the largest since then. So yeah, Brad Lander completely washed Dan Goldman out of the water. And again, the issue in this race specifically was Israel. Like that is the only difference. Again, Dan Goldman, on a lot of these issues, he's not again, like I said, not necessarily a centrist establishment type of the Democratic Party. However, on the issue of Israel specifically, hey, he has came out like staunchly against protesters,
Yeah.
in support of arming Israel, in support of refusing to call it a genocide. All of those things. It culminated with it's been in the news. It was sometime last week. He had went to a cafe in Brooklyn with his daughter, and only after finding out, like later that day, that he was a sitting member of Congress who was so pro-Israel, um, the owner of the cafe decided to refund him his order and said like he's not welcome to come back, ever again. And that's just to say that's where his district is at. That's where a lot of the people in this district are at. Again, this is also a very heavily
Really
Jewish
Jewish
district.
district.
Jewish
He is
district.
not allowed to get
Yes.
coffee in his home in his
Yes.
home district coffee shop.
Yes. That is
Vehemently.
huge. Yes, that should send a message to the Democratic Party on clearly whatever was allowed 2 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever your stance on Israel cannot be what it was before. And if you are someone who has not only just championed this or supported it, but just said nothing or allowed it to go, even that, playing the fence, being silent on it, that's not enough anymore. That's not enough anymore. So very important and interesting turnout in New York 10, and then man, and up in Harlem and New York 13. That race, it was decided by a little over 2,000 votes, but Darialisa really Xavier, she topped Adriana Espiat and she won. He did concede the race, and it's very interesting. I had texted you that day as soon as I work up in Harlem and I was coming out of the train. He was right outside of my train station passing
Right.
out mailers and stuff like that. And the only reason I didn't say anything to him, and I get on why I wanted to say something to him, the only reason I didn't is because honestly, he was just around. He had some older black ladies that were passing out like mailers and stuff, and I didn't want to get anything with them, that early in the morning. I was on my way to work, but him and his campaign, or even just like his donors and his backers, they've been running some really bad hit pieces
Yes.
on Lisa about her. She's a Haitian Muslim. She's Haitian Muslim and Dominican, basically.
Yes.
She
She's New York,
yeah,
is what
exactly.
she is.
Yes, she's
She's
a
New
mix of a
York.
whole bunch of different things, and they were
She's New
using,
York.
and his supporters and some of the and the attack ads against her, they were basically using the term Haitian as a slur against her, like, oh, she's Haitian, she's a Haitian, something like that, and
What they
he
use in the
was
Republican Party.
exactly. And it was just very nasty attacks, also framing her as anti-Semitic. Also, let me just for people that don't
Roll
know,
it back.
the
Roll it
part of
back.
the part of this district, or these districts, this is Harlem, Washington Heights, the Bronx. This is
And Upper
Black and Brown
Manhattan. Yes,
of
it
Upper
is.
Manhattan. So this is Hispanic. So you have Dominican, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Black. You have Asian. You have literally everyone, but it's very heavily Hispanic and it's also heavily Black. There has been less. The Black population has been dwindling in years. That's a lot to do with the cost of living in the city as a whole, but specifically within these parts of Upper Manhattan. But still, that's this district. So you going
And
around
it's
using
it's a it's
Haitian
a heavy Muslim population in those
as
areas
well.
also.
Yes. So you using these things as slurs, her being a Muslim, her being hate, you using them as slurs or like things to derail her, or even using the trope and saying that she's anti-Semitic for some of the things that she has said. They also came after her for she sent out a tweet that was like "fuck Kamala Harris," which she has
Years
since
ago,
which was yet during the it was during the presidential election, yeah, a couple of years ago, and she has since backtracked on some of those statements, but the sentiment is something that's shared by a lot of people within the Democratic Party. It's part of the reason why Kamala Harris is not currently the president of the United States. And even if it's not as broad as fuck Kamala Harris, but it's fuck Kamala Harris from what she said for multiple reasons, for policy reasons. One of them was on when she was the sitting vice president, her administration was part of starting this conflict, and giving these arms to Israel, in their crusade against Hamas, which actually turned out to be just all of Palestine, and then which has now turned into Lebanon and other parts of the in Iran. But anyways,
to interject on that,
yeah.
but she also stated, just like I had stated, she still voted for Kamala Harris.
So yes, very important.
This
Yes.
is the issue that many people don't actually see. There's infighting in the party. The reason why it's infighting is to lend a voice and try to move candidates to a particular policy. Many times, at the end of the day, when it comes to going to the ballot box, you disagree with one, two, three, maybe one or two things, but you still course correct and you pull the lever for that particular candidate. Everybody is not a one issue voter,
Mm-hmm.
but what is coming to the forefront now is this issue of Israel has snowballed into the effect where as though now you can see how Israel is causing all these repercussions at home, and it's causing repercussions. Many people that are not like you and I, and many people that may be sitting here watching us, don't give a shit what's going on in some little stretch of land in the Middle East, and how does it affect me? Because that's the capitalism in you.
Mm-hmm.
You only worry about what's going on in your home, in your situation. But now, when people actually see what goes on in that little stretch of that little fucking land in the Middle East, is causing billions of dollars of loss to you, and that's why your gas tank, it takes you more money. It buys more than $4, and that's why the strait being closed and fertilizer not getting to the farms and rising your food costs, and why everything is connected. Whereas though everything has always been connected, but because in the United States it doesn't hit you personally, You just let it go on. People are getting smart. People are waking up to the truth. When these radicals are saying, "Yo, you can't be, you shouldn't be supporting this. Do you know what tax money is going on to this? Yo, your congressman, this, that, and other." It's so how you pronounce it? FBI?
SBI, SBI.
FBI. He received over he my man, my man. He is a congressman out of the Bronx. Why my man get over $3 million in his career from APEC? Why?
Yep.
The Bronx, my man. Maybe because he is the highest ranking Hispanic in Congress.
Chair of the Hispanic Caucus.
He's chair of the Hispanic caucus in Congress.
Yep.
So you can't tell me that when they say all politics is local, that's where it starts at.
Yep.
He stronghold on the Bronx. He won 61% out there.
Oh, still, yep.
Was,
in this election,
yep. Yeah, he was clearing 61% in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But when I seen an interview with him, they were asking about different policies. He said this, and he wouldn't go talk to your candidate about that. Go talk to your candidate about that. And he was like, so he dodged the APEC then. He's like, this is what you do. He handed it. First of all, and don't get me wrong. This motherfucker got on $10,000 suit. He looked good as shit. He looked good.
It's the first
I'm like, yo. And he looked it. I'm like, yo, he looking sharp at this. That. But you know what? And I don't know his politics, and I don't know, but he just gave off to me like, oh, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, man. Because he just looked at, he looked like money.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, whoa.
Yeah. And to that point, the reason why it was, and it's funny because even I had a feeling of it was even before Zoran had announced it. Just once I found out who SBI was and looking into him, and again taking money from APAC, where he got his money from, and then just learning more about the district. Again, like I said, I work up in Harlem, so just learning more about the area and the district and stuff. It just didn't make any sense. So it was very clear why the DSA saw that this district and this specific
he was vulnerable.
Was vulnerable for a challenge.
Yes.
Because not only has he been taking money from APAC, not only is he just a centrist Democrat, but also he collects a lot of his money. It's his number one donor from the real estate lobby, from real estate corporations and agencies, and that's
landlords.
That's important to point out because two things. One, New York 13 is one of the poorest congressional districts in the country. It has one of the highest rate of poverty in the country, and also 88% of voters and people that reside in the district are renters. So people who are, again, unable to afford their own home, and they are renting, so they are subject to the unaffordability crisis. So that's why they saw that this district was again vulnerable for primary challenge. And sure enough, Dara Lisa, she went in and she ran on abolishing ICE. She ran on supporting cutting ties to Israel and not arming Israel. One of her slogans was not like babies, not bombs. Like those are the kind of people that we should be taking care of. And again, like I said, she faced a lot of attacks throughout this campaign. Again, they were using Haitian as a slur. They were coming after her for her quote unquote lack of support for Kamala Harris, even though, as you mentioned, that she had mentioned they're voting for her anyway. And again, they really came after her for being anti-Semitic. But again, it's how does it you're Hispanic calling somebody else who is Afro-Hispanic, you're calling them anti-Semitic on an issue that like On what? Because she's saying we shouldn't be arming the people who are, perpetuating this genocide, perpetuating this violence on these people, and she hasn't said anything anti-Semitic. And that's the biggest problem with a lot of these things. The attacks that you were able to say coming out of October 7th from a couple of years ago, maybe even all the way up to like a year ago, where you can just dismiss some of these people as, oh, say anti-Semitic. That doesn't work anymore because people are waking up to what's actually going on. And it's actually funny, something that Joe Scarborough over on Morning Joe had said the other day. And again, he's not a progressive. He's a former Republican, so he's definitely not a progressive. But he represents
You know what?
the Democratic Party.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I would give Joe. You are correct, but I tend to think. He is common sense. He's a common. He is an old Republican, whereas though he was the Republican that you could actually sit down
And have a
and talk
conversation with.
to
Yeah,
and negotiate. Y'all could have differences, but it would be on policy. He was a Republican that it wasn't. He didn't use the tropes, and he's from Alabama,
yeah.
but he and he's more progressive than some establishment Dems that I know of. To be honest,
Okay, you can say
and
that. Yeah,
only he's been on MS. It's one
yeah.
reason he's been able to stay on MSNBC for 20 years. He and in many cases he is more left in his own wife on certain things that I see.
I have. Yeah, I have seen that as well. But
And
I say
she's
that to.
supposedly the
Yeah,
Democrat.
yeah. I say that to point out that he, especially for his audience, because uh, again, a lot of Democrats, a lot of people who was liberal people, they watch and MSNBC, which is now MS Now.
MSN
But
now.
yeah,
Or we like to call the channel formerly known as MSNBC.
exactly. Yeah. So and he and I actually and I set this up to give him props because he was actually saying people that are calling Derry Lisa anti-Semitic for her the calling out Israel and her views on Israel, the government, the IDF, is saying no, you can't call her anti-Semitic. You can't call these people who are pointing out what they're seeing, and calling it a genocide. You can't call them anti-Semitic. And the reason why, it's something that we'll get into in a little second, but the reason why so many other people around this country are supporting these candidates that are speaking out against Israel is because you can see everything right here. You can see it right here. So what's going on in
Yeah.
Israel and in Gaza in real time, what's going on in Lebanon in real time, you can see it on your phone. There's no hiding it. And something that Joe Scarborough had said, he was like, you know what? He basically said I was a supporter of Israel and I was against and I was for some of their attacks on against Palestinians and everything because he said I was growing up and I saw what happened in the Olympic attacks against the Israeli athletes and I saw what happened to them. So ever since then I was pro-Israel and I was anti-Palestinian. He was like, that's because that's what I saw. And then all I ever heard was basically pro-Israel, pro-Israel, pro-Israel. Now that young people, everyone has access to see what's going on, just like he did at that moment. Now that you're seeing real time, babies getting blown up, homes being destroyed, the entire cities, entire towns, the entire civilization being leveled. Now that everyone has access to see that, that's changing their psyches. That's changing people's opinions. That's changing support for Israel. That's changing support for candidates who support Israel, who are again silent on the issue of Israel. And it's going to be a very major and important. This is a major important inflection point for the Democratic Party. Because what do you
I
do?
like
APAC
that.
is so just to set this one thing up.
Go ahead.
APAC, they give money to Democrats, as we had mentioned. SBI got money from APAC, and APAC isn't just APAC. They also give money to other to other
Both
PACs,
sides.
so as to say, hey, we're not. This necessarily isn't coming from APAC, even though it is funneled through APAC.
They disguise.
But
They make up other packs and disguise
yeah,
and make up other names to hot
yeah,
because now APAC is hot. So they're setting up shelter packs and they're actually funding these shelter packs.
Yeah.
So it's not actually their name because people are now just anti any candidate that have that moniker on them.
Yep. Yep.
And when it comes to the fact, the astonishing thing is they're owned. These candidates are owned.
Yep.
When former President Barack Obama was doing an interview, someone asked about what about APEC? And he, a man of many, many, many words, an elegant word, he took 30 seconds stuttering because he couldn't come up with a rebuttal about his support that he gained from APEC and how he was still a supporter of Israel. I don't know if you saw that video when he was literally stuttering for about 30 seconds. He couldn't say anything. This is the one issue that a one issue voter is going to take up. And many people that look like us, that are higher in stature out there, are saying, I'm not voting for any candidate that supports this
Yeah.
at all. It's going to be a reckoning. It's going to be a reckoning this November because many people are fed up across party lines
Hmm.
with the Israel situation. Point blank. Point blank.
Hmm. And like you said, it's just because it affects, and people are starting to see it affects
Your
every
everyday
part
life.
of your life. Exactly. From your what gas. Eventually, it's going to get to groceries. It's already getting to air
Yeah,
travel. Like we
yeah.
said, Spirit Airlines. The main reason that Spirit Airlines closed down is not because what the government is trying to sell you. It's not because the Biden administration didn't want their merger with JetBlue to go through a couple of years ago. No, it is because they could not keep up with fuel costs. That is the sole reason why Spirit Airlines is no
And
longer
that
in
is
business.
why the CEO stated it was fuel
Yep.
cost.
Yep.
The Biden organization administration blocked the JetBlue merger. One, when the CEO actually, and I think we discussed this before on
We
one of our
did.
previous shows,
We
the
did.
CEO wanted to merge with Frontier.
Yeah.
It was a better deal with JetBlue, but if they merged with JetBlue, then the um, the cheaper consumer, the basic economy flight would have went away,
Yep.
and he urged to go that way.
And it would have
The
been legal.
reason why, right, and it would have been illegal.
Yeah.
The reason why they didn't take the Trump administration deal for the loan is because Trump wanted over 50% of the fleet so
Hmm.
he can use the planes for deportation. The American government wanted to take over 50% of Spirit's air fleet, which the CEO said, what? I can get $200,000 a plane.
Yeah.
Why would I give at least 200 to $250,000? I can liquefy this thing, and the shareholders and everybody will be better off than
Yeah.
just taking this loan to and then give away 50% of our fleet.
Yep.
Capitalism is a motherfucker. And when y'all actually start realizing capitalism for y'all religious people is actually really the devil, because the, the only the strong can survive type thing and pull your stuff up by your bootstraps. What if you don't got boots?
Yep.
Let's move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Where we at?
no, that's crazy. But yeah, so up in New York 13, as I said, Daria Lisa, she pulled it off. And again, this was the closest race. So she only won by a little over 2,000 votes. But like I said, highly contested. But she was able to pull it out. And as I mentioned, it's just this is the direction the Democratic Party should be going because this is the direction the voters are telling you that they want to go. And even though these are resounding victories and almost every metric for these three candidates, and as well as to go on with the House candidate, the state House candidates as well. Um,
Five. Five state
the
representatives in
yes,
the state. Were they
the
all DSA back?
as they
The
for
five
the most, I
state
believe all of,
representatives?
I think I believe they were all DSA backed, and I believe they were also all DSA members as well. But I would have to go check in and look at all of them, but I'm almost positive that's right. Um, but the response from the Democratic Party, the establishment wing of the Democratic Party, it has been it's been it's loser mentality basically, and
Yes.
it just kind of goes to show you that these people, they're not, even though they say, oh, vote blue no matter who, is that's only when they only say that to the progressive left, the the more liberal wing of the party, when it's time to get in line and vote for the centrist establishment candidate. That's what they say. It's not for just whoever the nominee is, because if that was the case, then Andrew Cuomo wouldn't have ran against Zoran Mamdani because he wouldn't have had the support to do that because Zoran was the Democratic candidate. And unfortunately, what you're now seeing isn't a welcoming of these new nominees into the party. They're not saying, the establishment at large isn't, trying to support them. You had the former chair of the Democratic National Convention, Jamie Harrison, might I add you, who honestly only reached that profile because he lost to Lindsey Graham down in South Carolina. So he failed up to get that position. And it was just that it was a relatively close race. And I don't even think it was that close, actually. But it was just closer than I think other Democrats had ever been to challenging Lindsey Graham. And he had a lot of energy behind his campaign. But a story for another day. Anyway, he
No, let's
came
story
out.
for now. So
Okay.
let's elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah.
What happens in these parties? You get some little bit of energy behind you, and you actually come out and run a campaign and do better than what's expected.
Hmm.
A lot of times, what they say is a backroom deal. Hey, we know you probably going to lose. Let's go take this L for us. We're going to take care of you on the back end. And this was a take care of him on the back end situation. Many people, especially when they are, granted, to win in South Carolina, you probably have, they would say, like, this is not going to play this DSA thing. That they, but he made it the statement that if you hate Democrats,
Yeah.
why run for the party's nomination if you
Yeah.
hate Democrats so much?
I have it right here. If I can, I'll say.
Go ahead,
He
say it.
said, I say this with no ill will or animosity. If you hate the
Which
Democratic
means I
Party,
got ill will and
yes,
animosity.
exactly. If you hate the Democratic Party, then please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, energy in your campaign. Focus on building the party you actually support. Political parties aren't perfect, but they're built by millions of people who knock doors, make calls, organize meetings, and fight the values they believe in. If you don't believe in the party, then don't ask its members to carry you across the finish line. And before I let you go back in, it's crazy because he's saying this into response. He's saying this in response to these candidates
Tell him,
winning
tell him,
Democratic primaries. So these are Democratic voters. So the party is telling you, we want these people, we want these policies in our party. So to say something like, don't use our infrastructure or don't use our volunteers, these people, that's as you're saying the volunteers belong to you. You're saying their time, their
yes,
energy, their focus belongs to you. They do
yes,
not. And that is the
yes,
problem with the Democratic Party, specifically people of color in the Democratic Party, where they think, oh, because you're black, because you're Hispanic, you're going to come. No, that is not the
no,
case. That is
no.
not the case. So and I'm glad that it's him that said it because
I'm glad.
It is again, black position of authority, and he was the former head of the DNC. So him saying basically, yeah, we own the voters, we own the volunteers, we own the door knockers. Even if they're doing it for your campaign, they still belong to us. No, that is wrong. And what these races, the other races around the country have shown you is that the voters are ready for something new. They are ready for a different kind of politics, one that's more hostile and not as buddy buddy with the Republicans, with the status quo, with Israel, all these things. Go ahead.
To add, you started, you set the fire, you lit the match. That's exactly where I was going. The fact of the matter is, what they failed to actually say by just it's just like when Joe Biden said, "If black people don't vote for me, they are not black."
Mm-hmm.
The DSA has spent the last 10 years organizing. This started back with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
They now have been mobilized for 10 years, getting a network and getting organized. Their their phone bank people and they go, when have you seen Esprit in the fucking community?
That's what all of them were
It's
saying.
the whole point. These people, these candidates have actually been knocking on doors, introducing themselves to the people, going into the bodegas,
Yep.
going into the corn, going on to the corners, going into local businesses. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And guess what? They want to hang this moniker because when you say socialist, people think then they. The bottom line is this. Hold on. For anybody that identifies or is affiliated or believes that you are a Democrat, if you're a registered Democrat or whatever, to the people on the other side, do you know what you are? You're a communist. You're a bleeding heart liberal socialist communist. And you could be middle as the in the road as you could be. You can be a daggone fiscal conservative. And I know I I got them in my family, especially with my people being from the South. I would tell you that my mother, your grandmother, is pretty much a moderate conservative Democrat, one that believes in religion and people just doing their good hard work and life is just going to be good to them because you work hard and you are a good person and you believe in your Bible. That's but to many people on the right, you're still a socialist because you're a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a socialist because you believe that gay people have the right to exist. You're a communist because you believe women have the right to choose. You got to be a communist if you think it's okay for a woman to work outside the home. These are just far crazy just things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get caught up with being labeled whatever. I know what I believe in, and I believe in humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in everybody to that if you live in this country, the AKA the most richest country, why is this the only country that healthcare is a for-profit system? Why is it that you like some social you like firemen, don't you? You like the fire truck? You like firemen come you like your trash collected, right? Huh? Those are all people don't those are forms of socialism. That's that's the form of the government actually your government taking responsibility and doing something for the people. So
you like some forms of socialism, but you don't like socialism as a concept because, as Stephen A. Stupid ass says, this is a capitalist country.
Oh my God! Don't get me started. No.
Oh, I hope that fucking idiot runs so he can realize that he is so on the fence of hating Democrats and hating Republicans. He's so far on the middle and this, that, and other, you know, just X amount of. But you know what? When you make $40 million a year, you know, your politics change.
See, but the thing is, there is, and not to get into a diatribe on Stephen A. Smith, there is no appetite for that kind of politics. There is no appetite for a middle of the road. Oh,
No,
everyone should all come. There is no appetite, and
no,
I'm sorry, that might have
not
existed
anymore.
in a version of America before. That no, not in the
That was the
last 10
before
years.
times, baby. Yes, you
Yes.
right.
So
Tell him.
it's so for him and for him to be so passionate and to be so locked into the idea that he could actually do this. No one, like you said, I kind of don't even want to see him run. Not because
I
I don't want to
do.
see him embarrassed, but just because
I do.
I think that only is going to help him and whatever, because he's ultimately he cares about himself. So this is just going to be to help him and his numbers for whatever his podcast, whatever he wants to go on and do after he's done with ESPN or whatever, whatever. I don't know, but I don't want him to do it because I feel like it's just going to help him in whatever he wants to do. And I don't think he needs that. And I don't want to be a part of that. Even in hate, I hate watching him right now. I don't want to hate watch him on the debate stage. I don't want him up there. It's going to be a waste of all of our times. And I don't want to see the 10 people around the country that are actually fall for that. But no, absolutely not. But I saw what he came out and said against specifically Mamdani after the results from Tuesday, and was like,
He did
if
it
he's the
smart.
he said if he's the Democratic Party, then you're going to lose. If these are the kind of people that are going to be running the Democratic Party, if it's going to fall to socialism, if it's going to do that, then we're not just blow the party up. It's not going to work. They're going to lose elections and everything. He was like, I'm a
Because we
capitalist. We're
about this
capitalists. Yeah,
society. We about dollars and cents. And I'm
yes,
a coon. I'm going to step. Because when you know what? Y'all want to talk about black people? I can do it better.
yeah,
He's not even good at what he do.
no,
That that shit he pushed is for low IQ fucking sports fans. If you watch him, and I know there don't nobody pay attention to me that watch him because I'm too smart to listen to. If you listen to that dumb shit, I don't even want his sports opinion. I ain't watched that. I have never sat and watched the whole first take show that he was on. I like watching it when actually he's on vacation and they have some when they have a Dominique Foxworth on there or so. Well, I always like smart people, and that debate show used to be wrestling. It used to be boxing. Let's put the black guy against the white guy, and let's use race as an overtone.
yeah.
And I'm too smart for that shit. And the craziest thing is when he got called out, when I think and we divulging one of the old one of the
Max
guys said
Kellerman.
that Max Kellerman got they said Max was blacker. Terrell Owens said Max was blacker than him.
He was. He in any of the
But Theo
conversations
said
debate so
he
far
said Stephen he said you are black.
on
Max Kellerman's
yeah,
blacker than you
yeah,
because he don't like nuance. And Max Kellerman's smart. He not just going to take the daggone default other side.
yeah.
Nah, man, we want barking. We want to throw feces at each other. That's why when him and that stupid ass motherfucking Jason I
Whitlock.
ran my no, not Jason Whitlock. Fuck that coon. I'm Jason the one that ran his bike into the wall and couldn't play basketball no more. That's on there. That's the bad Jason They used to play for Duke.
Oh, ah,
Uh,
oh my God. I know. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't watch it. I forget his name because him and
J
they
Will, J
dad
Will.
Jason Wood. Yeah, he over there. They both jerking Trump off over the fucking USC. Oh, it was a great event. Blue, 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 blue. It was just awesome. Do y'all see what the fucking White Horse lawn look like now?
Idiocracy.
It got like it's a cage on the it it's y'all. This is what happened when y'all let trailer truck trash in charge.
They was on
It,
Obama for converting that the tennis court into a basketball court,
basketball court,
and how
because
that
that's
was the
that was neat. Yeah,
yeah,
because but but blowing up half the building and then throwing a daggone UFC cage on the front of the daggone Nature's Capital lawn. Oh, that's fine. Goddamn trailer park people.
yeah.
Y'all don't have no goddamn oomph, no daggone pizzazz.
Nope. Which is why they're and it's funny. I'm going to DC next weekend for the for the 4th of July. Just and it's
Not
America's
my holiday.
250th. Yeah, yeah, but it's America's 250th, so they're doing a lot of stuff, and it's becoming a mess because they're making it. If it was a celebration of America, as in a celebration of the people, all the stuff that we have going on, our places, our landmarks, our food, our culture, whatever the case is, okay. What he's making this is a celebration of himself. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen it, and that's why a lot of people
Well, America
are coming
250
up.
and Freedom 250 was two different things.
They were, but they're part of the same, but all part of the same thing. And also, America 250 that happened on his birthday. That was Flag Day, which they're now trying to make which they are trying to make like a now like an actual like holidays, like a bank holiday and everything. It coincides with his birthday. So between that, he made that about himself. He made the RNC, even going back, the RNC when he ran against Joe Biden, that was that was at the White House. If you recall, it was at the
Yeah.
White House. He had that there as well. He's putting himself in passports. There's 250th anniversary editions of passports. So if you try to go get yourself a passport right now, you're gonna open it up, and it's over. If you look at it, he's over the Constitution. So his
I've seen
body
it.
blocking the words of the Constitution. Isn't that crazy? And so it's
It's
just
so
crazy. Like you
dumb.
said, yeah,
This is how dumb he is. And this is how dumb the people is that follow him. That passport on it says, welcome and be good. Idiot. The only fucking people that can get an American passport is what? American citizens. Who are you welcoming?
literally stupid people.
This is what happens
Idiots.
when you allow people to marry their relatives and then they get the right to vote. So let's continue to keep on outlawing people for ancestral marriage across the country, please. So we don't end up in this situation again. Because I'm about to really be pro literacy test.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But I'm not. Oh, but I'm joking. um the move away from New York. I mean, this is something that's happening that's going on all around across the country. They don't and the reason why well, wait a minute, stay in New York for a second. Um Tom Suozzi, one of your
Yeah.
US congressmen out of New York, there you saw this. The
Yeah.
next day after the primary on Wednesday, he got together with more of his establishment,
It
quote
was
unquote, centrist. It was 13 of them
13
to
of them.
sign on to some type of document to the
It
Can
was a
you look this
pledge.
up?
It was
It's
a
a
pledge.
pledge
It was a
to
promise to America.
promise to America to stand on their centrist values.
And it said that I think that the quote is, "We are capitalists, not socialists." That's the main takeaway from that. It was, "We are capitalists, not
Yes,
socialists." And
we
again, it
are.
was 13 different. So it was, again, 13 Democrats also. So just the ones of note are Tom Swazi and then Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey. But yeah, it's just crazy. And again, this is coming off of Democratic wins. These are coming off of wins in Democratic primaries. So the party is telling you we want these candidates. So you coming out and saying that this is not what the Democratic Party is going to be. This is not what you want congressional Democrats to stand on. Okay, so you're just going to go against the wishes and the will of the Democratic voters. Who does that sound like? I thought we were the pro-democracy party. I thought you guys were in favor again of democracy and of people being able to vote and have a voice.
They think they actually own. These are the people that won't admit that they lost the 2024 president election because they reached out to constituents that weren't going to vote for them. They are still lost in the fact. I understand if you reach out to an independent because there are independent voters out there. And but to reach out and to hold your hand with Liz Cheney and try to cipher
Mm-mm.
off some Republican votes instead of allowing your voting base that are a little farther to the left of you to have a say in the platform, to actually allow a Palestinian to speak at your national convention.
Mm-hmm.
You are bought and paid for by corporations. One of the first things that Hakeem Jeffries did last year after Trump took office was go to Silicon Valley and go to the the tech corporation leaders and say that they still had a home in the Democratic Party, that they will still back legislation for them. I will say it now, I will say it again, and I will always say it. They are two heads of the same coin. Corporate Dems and Republic, there is no difference in the way that they govern except for socially. Economically, they will fuck you. They will fuck the working person and they will screw middle class people for the billionaires. Will they push will they push against LGBT rights and minorities and this? No. But I'm gonna tell you this one thing: they won't actually full heartedly protect those rights either. It happened here in Delaware with SB 100 that just got pushed down, and just last week or this week is the end of the session. Delaware put up a bill to actually make same-sex and interracial marriage part of their constitution. So no matter what, so to be fortified for life. And you may say, what's the big deal, or this, that, and other. But Delaware is a Democratic uh, state. So you don't have to worry about those rights being taken away. That's how they swing. It came down to a two-third. Of course, it goes to the Constitution. It had to be a two-thirds majority. They Democrats have a two-thirds majority, and it passed the Senate, and in the House, it fell by two votes because two Democrats voted against it. One of the Democrats voted against it because, and this is what they do. This is a Republican tactic. And I don't know if you know about this one, son. They'll equate same sex marriage as any marriage. So if you're going to vote for same sex marriage, then you need to back incest marriage. So being able to marry your first cousin. Because people are people, right? This is their argument. People are people, right? So we should be okay with marriage, being able to marry somebody that's 13 or 14 years old, right? So, but you want me to vote for this? You want me to vote for same sex? Then we need to vote for this too, because people are just people, and we can't. If you're not going to discriminate, we shouldn't discriminate. These are the filthy arguments that they use to try to equate the two things.
Hmm.
I need everyday people that are watching this and just watching what's going on in your government that pedophilia is more acceptable to them than homosexuality, than two of age adults loving each other and wanting to marry. They'd rather have some 40, 50-year old guy marrying this 14-year-old girl.
Mm.
And what, or that allowing Bobby Joe and Tammy Sue, who share their parents or siblings, marry. That's what they're equating the two to. And that's how some bills get burnt. I'm trying to figure out why did they put the interracial component on with the same sex? Because that looks kind of like fucking with somebody's racist bias to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
It's interesting as
Not
well.
the ends, yeah, especially ends, and you wouldn't. I don't know.
What they're hand in hand. It was same sex and interracial marriage together.
Even
But
then,
in other states, they didn't do it in this state, but in other states, they put in the minor or the ancestral marriage piece into it, marrying your cousin piece into this same sex marriage thing.
that yeah, that part is absolutely ridiculous. And I was gonna say you wouldn't expect a place like Delaware, but you shouldn't expect anywhere to go to go down for something like that. But
Yeah, but you know, it's a lot of pockets here.
yeah, yeah, no, for
It's a
sure,
lot. In this
for
small
sure.
state, it's a lot of pockets.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, but to the broader point, like you were saying, it's mostly like just
We lived in it. We lived in a
yeah,
Republican town. And we didn't really we lived in a Republican town.
for sure. A lot of
We lived
states,
in a racist as shit town. We did.
for sure.
They just we you grew up in the age when it wasn't overt. But soon as Trump came to prominence and
Solid.
you was about to graduate high school and Trump came to prominence and you seen all them fucking Trump and Confederate flags all around town
Yeah,
popped up because the trailer park had energy. Yeah, buddy. I just don't gotta let them not come into my. You just knew you couldn't go into the Irish pub. You just knew you couldn't go in the Bridgeway Diner. You knew it. But now he was like, nah, we can put the signs out and let y'all know we don't want you.
Yeah,
And they did.
yeah, man. What a time.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute, but let's move on. Let's move because we want to bring this to a close in the next half hour. I'm sorry. Maryland
Hmm.
was very interesting in their primaries. And this is one of for one that I was disappointed. I was disappointed in Maryland in a couple ways. One, they actually reelected State Senator Bill Fitzgerald, who was the state Senate president. And he decided on his own, not listening to his caucus, not listening to the winds of what the people were saying. He did not bring up redistricting and for a vote in Maryland, whereas though Maryland could actually picked up another
See?
one or two congressional seats. His caucus wanted to vote on it. The people wanted to vote on it. He didn't bring it up, and he was challenged. This is what upset me. He's been a senator since 2010. He has run unopposed in a primary. This was the first time he ran in a primary. Many years he ran because he is represents Baltimore City.
Hmm.
Many times Republicans don't even run against him. He's basically he hasn't been able had to campaign or anything. Similar to the old state senator that we had in Smyrna, remember?
Yeah.
Before we had the present one, we had the lady, he ran Bill
Like,
something.
I'm
Bill
blanking
something.
on. Yeah.
I'm blanking on his last name, but he had been a state senator since like 1984 and ran unopposed for like 30 years. He ran unopposed. So he just kept on getting the job. But Fitzgerald, it was a close race. I think he won by like 3 points. And then he made it known that he was going to do better because it was a close call and that the constituents had spoke. And he got a lot of pushback. So he's going to do better to represent the district. We'll see.
Hmm.
But this is the point where I'm saying, whereas though when you don't always have to win. Progressives, socialists, people left of center of these established, they have this is healthy. This is why you have primaries. So the incumbent has to prove to the constituents again that they are worthy to represent them. You cannot allow these people to get a free pass and to go back into office.
Hmm.
This is the first time ever when you look across and this is the Democratic Party's shortfall over the last 30 years, whereas though they have conceded state legislatures throughout the country. In Minnesota, Arizona, South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. Those 7 states, they are running candidates on the Democratic ticket for every statewide office. And they have never done that before. You have to run people, even if they lose. You keep running because it makes their opponents have to talk to their constituents and go out and try to win votes
Yep.
and talk about issues. You cannot allow someone to run unopposed.
Never.
Deep thing we're going to spend the last 20 minutes on. Hakeem Jeffries says something very, I felt poignant. One thing that I did agree with him with, and I want you to hear this. And
Is this
see.
something he said recently after the results on
He
Tuesday?
said after the loss.
Gotcha,
What he said after the loss, I agree totally with him. And he said it was on Wednesday. He's interviewed about they brought up Mayor Mardani. He
Mhm.
said, and the ones that he Mardani back won, the ones that he back lost. And
Yeah.
he said, I am the Democratic caucus leader. I have to support my caucus.
Mhm.
So, of course, I am going to support the incumbents that are in office presently because they are part of my caucus.
Yeah.
I already spoke to Mayor Mondani. We agreed to disagree on the candidates.
Mhm.
I am doing what I am supposed to do in supporting my caucus. And ultimately, I actually have to agree with him on that. I was like, I couldn't be like, you know what? Well, so and so is crappy. You should just, but they are part of it. They have voted him. These people voted him leader.
Yeah.
So he needed to back them. What I don't agree with him with was how he downplayed that it's only 3 members out of New York. We're
Yeah.
a caucus of 215. 3 people will not make a difference in the bigger picture of the caucus. I say to you, and this is what I text you before they even won, and I think, or maybe it was after they won. All that you need in power within a caucus is 10 to 15 people. All you need is a voting block.
Mhm.
If your voting block is strong, then they have to come to you for your vote and negotiate. Not like those 3 are going to actually not be the only 3.
No,
There are
they're
3
joining
so
some.
far. They could be, you could be, Kiros in Colorado will be a 4th one.
Mhm.
Then you could talk about
Chris Rabb.
Presley. You can talk about Chris Rabb in Pennsylvania. You can talk about
What's her name? Mendez and or it was who just won in New Jersey.
Mendez in New Jersey. Yes,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Not Mendez. Yeah.
Not Mendez.
I'm blanking on the name, but yeah.
I'm like, I know. Yeah, she just won. Then you talking about also Rokana,
Yep.
Rashida Tlaib, of Jayapal.
Yep. Ilhan.
These are all these are progressives.
Yeah.
AOC. Now, this is the thing. AOC is not as left as these people are, and I will tell you, AOC was where she was, but she got smacked down by fucking Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, which is
And
yes.
but she played. But this is the thing. She played the game.
And that's which I brought up.
That she was smart. She played the game.
With her lack of endorsements against these incumbents as well. It's a part.
But as soon as they won, she came out. Soon as they won, she came out. but she played the game because guess what? She saw her crew got dismantled.
Yeah.
The squad got dismantled. So she's playing the game. But guess what? If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, if it's 10, 12, now she can she's still progressive.
Yeah.
But she just downplayed her rhetoric so she can stay, so she wouldn't get ostracized because one thing that Pelosi was and Hakeem Jeffries is not. Pelosi had ultimate power.
For sure. Yeah. In control over
She had ultimate. She. I will say this, and it's been brought up, and I want to know how you feel about this because I didn't discuss this with you. But people are saying, and I believe it to be true, Democrats probably will win the House. I'm not sure if Jeffries is going to be the speaker.
And I'm blanking on which race it was, but it was Chris Rabb got asked this question. Actually, that's what it was. He got asked the question after he won his primary, and it was like whether or not he would support Hakeem Jeffries to be speaker. And yeah, basically he just gave kind of a milquetoast answer on whether like basically like he is the guy, and until like no one's currently standing up and challenging him, so he's like he's not supporting a challenger because no one's currently challenging him. Is basically the takeaway that I got from it. But I don't think he's strong enough. It's funny. I don't think he's strong enough to be the leader of the House that the Democratic Party needs and that the country needs right now. But I also think it'll be very hard for the Democratic Party to sell not having Hakeem Jeffries be the guy. Because
not being the first black speaker of the House.
Yes, because especially because he just became the leader of the Democrats in the House. So it's kind of like, so you gave me this power when I wasn't actually speaker. So when it was kind of only just, you know what I mean? Like,
The three people, those three motherfuckers, sorry, mama, Pelosi, Hoyer, and Clyburn stepped aside when they were not in the majority anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then they propped up younger, blacker, and browner people to be the leaders, while they still sat on the sidelines getting their money, doing their trades, and still being in whatever.
Yeah.
Because they should have been going. They should have been going 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are over 84 years old. All of them. I will say this. I'm okay with him being the speaker. And it's for selfish reasons. I do want a black man to be Speaker of the House. But I also believe, I'm going to go back to Kamala Harris. I believe Hakeem Jeffries is an opportunist.
Yeah.
If his caucus pushes a certain way and it gets to the point it's getting to the point with Mike Johnson, where it's revolt and stuff, to keep his job, he not going to capitulate to Donald Trump because he's not of the same party. He's going to capitulate to his caucus and the voters.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me play a side game with you right quick and see if this is. Why do you think? I think it was strategic and I think it was smart. Why do you think Mayor Mardoni didn't run the primary challenge to Hakeem Jeffries? Because Hakeem Jeffries is weak. Why didn't he do it?
I think the main reason is that Hakeem Jeffries is a close ally of the governor Kathy Hochul, and he needs Kathy Hochul's. Um, he basically he needs the state to help fund a
Y-
lot of his initiatives and his policies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, yo, Hakeem, I tell you, we're gonna be on the wrong side of this thing. I'm not gonna come after you. He's like, I'm not gonna come after you in 26,
Hmm.
but I'm going to get some people in. This movement is going this way. You're going to have to bring some stuff to the floor.
Hmm.
You're going to have to show and prove. If not, in 28, we going to come. We want to see a black man be speaker.
Hmm.
We want that. You a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. You're a person. Yo, cool. But we need to push this type of agenda
Hmm.
when it's pop. We need this. If not, it's going to be we coming for you because what we doing is we're going to primary people and candidates that are not working for the people.
Yep.
So I think he gave him a pass. And he also played it smart because it's like, look, let me show you that I'm going to take out your people in your state. So whereas though you're going to have to capitulate
Hmm.
or you're not going to have the gavel because I guarantee you he can rally some if he doesn't push a a progressive agenda to change some of the shit that's been going on, and if
Hmm.
he doesn't bat it down, they gotta you gotta get Epstein shit. You gotta get all kinds of fucking investigations for the next 2 years.
Hmm.
Getting these people that been doing fuckery, or guess what? We don't want you. We will primary you. I'm telling you.
I
I'm
see that.
telling you. That's what it is. He did. He
Yeah.
he put me. But I'm telling you, he's an opportunist. He's a career politician, and like many people before him, they are okay with changing winds of the way that their electorate they pay attention. They pay attention to polls,
Hmm.
and and then they pay attention to what the electorate is saying because it's like, oh, I got one. They gonna have to ban stock trading.
Hmm.
They going to have to ban people from Congress being able to actually become lobbyists. These are all things that that's going to have to get done in order for these people to keep their jobs.
Hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, you cannot primary the party leader your first year in and out. You, it was smart.
I
It
see
was
that. Yeah.
smart. It was smart. He's playing the game.
For
It's
sure.
just like I'm telling. I think he's an opportunist, and he's going to want that gavel, but it's going to be fragile because it's going to be too many fucking progressives
Yeah.
that's not going to put up, and it's a younger generation. They're not going to deal with the status quo. Do you know the DSA platform? I have it written down. What they've been railing against?
For the most part, yeah, I know they have like
This I got it written right here, so we want to discuss some of them. And I want to bring this up because people watching, you're not a socialist. You're a capitalist. You're not affiliated. You might be conservative. You might not have a title. This is their platform. And tell me, do you have to be in a certain category to agree with one or maybe two or more of these?
Hmm.
The anti-slave platform reads off as this. They want ranked choice voting. We discussed it before. Ranked choice voting is basically when you have someone that's running, you pick the candidates and you rank them. You I vote for this person to be this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice. If when they go through the voting and they take through all the first choice voting, and if somebody doesn't get a majority amount from over 50% over the ones, now they go to your second choice and they add those together. And if they don't get over a 50% amount for being your second choice, they go to the third choice. And then after that, after the third choice, then they can get over 50%. So basically what they're saying is you get rid of this plurality
Hmm.
victory. Case in point, in Maryland. In Maryland, Sit, Story Horror's old district. He's retiring. He was the 84-year-old. He used to be the majority leader.
Hmm.
He's been running his. He picked the actual winner. He endorsed the actual winner, Adrian Barroso. Also won by getting 32% of the vote. There were 24 people running in the Democratic primary. He got 32% of the vote, literally about 21,000 votes. And he is the nominee. And because it's a heavy Democratic district, he is probably going to Congress. With ranked choice voting, people would have been, first of all, you have to do something about this shit anyway.
Yeah.
And I understand that people should be able to run, whoever should be able to run, if they record for this, that 23 fucking people, my man. 20 of those people knew didn't have a chance to win.
Mhm.
Only the top three people garnished over 90% of the vote. The bottom 20 only got 10% combined.
Hmm.
This is another thing that APAC and other PACs do. They pay candidates to stay on the ballot, even
Hmm.
though they know they don't have a chance to win. So, whereas though they split the vote up, so their preferred candidate can win. I don't think it should not be any more than five people running in a primary. And this is how, whereas though I kind I'm okay with the fucking runoffs that some states use, but I know it was based it was based on segregation and racist so whereas though black people couldn't win out races back down south, that's why they
Hmm.
do a 50% plurality. 50% plus one majority down south. It's based on racism. But with ranked choice voting, you wouldn't have that problem. Abolish ICE. No matter how you feel about it, um, you I always tend to remind people that ICE is only 20 years old. We did have immigration
Enforcement and stuff before then.
enforcement before ICE,
Hmm.
Medicare for all, which is basically universal health care. Fighting mass incarceration and police brutality, housing for all,
Hmm.
universal child health care, taxing the rich, making the billionaires pay their fair share. introducing a 32-hour work week, um, the Green New Deal, uh, free Palestine, end the electoral college, make presidential elections be by the popular vote,
Hmm.
ending the Senate filibuster. They do. You're going to see Republican and Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson say that the DSA's platform says abolishing and getting rid of the U.S. Senate. It's not that. It's not the Senate itself. It's the filibuster, which is an archaic rule that you have to have 60 senators agree on a potential bill for
Hmm.
it to move forward to debate and a vote. Also, they want a representative Congress. I am all for this. A representative Congress, and you probably saying, yeah, well, the Congress is representative by, the people. And that's why they vote for it every 2 years, and it's by districts and so forth and so forth. And that. A representative Congress is something similar to what they do, like Parliament in the UK, whereas though it's not just a two-party system.
Hmm.
A representative is actually they want to expand the seats from 435 representatives to a larger number and actually make it open to more political parties.
Hmm.
Somewhere like DSA could be a party, the Green Party, the Working Families Party,
Yeah.
things like that. So whereas though they have representatives that are just not under. A lot of times, what happens now is people are Democrats and Republicans, but they have different. They're conservative, they're liberal, they're different. They're different levels of it, but they only can caucus with the. Just like in the Senate, you have
Yeah.
two independents that caucus with the Democrats because they don't have. It's only two caucuses.
Hmm.
By opening up a representative Congress, whereas though it make it more representative of your actual district. Just like what they're calling for and they're bitching about in New York, but these socialists, Democratic socialists, ran in a Democratic primary.
Yep.
So it's a closed primary. Only registered Democrats can vote in that primary. So those Democrat socialists won Democratic primaries from Democratic registered voters. If you open it up, whereas though it wasn't based on just your party affiliation, and you open up and give more seats, then it's better representation for your congressional districts. That's all split up.
Hmm.
So whereas though you make it whereas though there's more than just four. And to be honest, and when you look at the way certain districts are broken up, they can be broken up, but because just like even in New York, like you saying in your district, all right. For instance, you are in New York 7, right?
Yeah.
What does New York 7 comprise of? What parts of town?
The neighborhood, it's funny, they actually call it the Commie Corridor. So it's like Long Island City and Queens and Ridgewood, and then it's like Greenpoint, Williamsburg, and Bushwick.
So you're talking about seven different neighborhoods?
That, and I'm trying to think if there's another one, but mostly yes.
Six, seven, all right, 6, 7 different. So, for instance, in that situation, if you broke it down, whereas though now every particular neighborhood had a representative, so you wouldn't be commie corner
Yeah.
because in those seven different neighborhoods, just like you have certain community boards that's in certain different neighborhoods, that's what they're talking about in Congress. So
Yeah.
whereas though that particular neighborhood has a representative, and it doesn't have to be strictly into Democratic. But why are they grouping? Why all? Because a lot of times not maybe not in your case, in your neighborhoods,
Hmm.
but probably you got different people that got different issues, and you only have one representative that has to worry about seven neighborhoods, seven different
Hmm.
issues. Why can't they each neighborhood have one representative that is focused on your particular neighborhood's issues, and they represent you in Congress that has something to do with your particular neighborhood?
Hmm.
Because all districts are not made the same. And this is shown when they're gerrymandering down south. For instance, they
Yep.
split Memphis and Tennessee up into three different blocks, but they are putting Memphis with parts of the North Memphis with another district that is 200 miles away. That's a farmland. How is the city of Memphis having the same issues as this small farm town 200 miles away?
Hmm.
But you have the same representative. Same thing, case in point, in Delaware. Delaware has one at large representative
Hmm.
that represents the whole state, but we are three counties. Why can't they
Distinct
have
counties.
distinct counties?
Yeah.
Three separate, different,
Hmm.
each county is different.
Hmm.
One county is more urban, cities, and affluent. Most of the money is up north. The middle county is suburban, city, suburban, not really. Third county, farmland, desolate,
Completely. Yeah.
small population. Why can't you have representation for each county? So whereas though no, I'm talking national representation from each county.
Hmm.
Especially it'd be more. Majority of the time you always get a Democratic representative in Delaware because it's a majority of Democrats in Delaware. But Sussex County is heavily Republican. If you will go by what I'm talking about with the representative Congress, now Sussex County will probably have a Republican representative in Congress for their county,
Hmm.
looking after their particular needs.
Yeah.
So it's not all socialists and just all blue no matter who. And I'm talking about equal representation for everyone by doing that.
Hmm.
I think it's interesting. But so how many of those things do you think the people watching, how many of those things that you actually agree with, that you could actually get on board with? That's the socialist agenda. I like to say it's a common sense agenda.
Hmm.
It's a anti the rich is going to keep us subordinate for life agenda.
Hmm.
It's for working people. It's for the middle class. It's for the people that actually keep the trains keep running.
Yeah, and to your point, it's these policies like this that the majority of people they do support things like this,
Until
expanding
they say it's
healthcare, expanding
socialist.
healthcare, and it until you put a label on it, or
Yup.
depending on how they frame it, or whatever the case is. But if just policy by policy, line by line, if you go through these with most people, regardless of ideology, regardless of religion, regardless of their background, they would say yes, we support these policies. And the Democratic Party has to capitalize off of that again. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. That's what these races are showing you. That's what the election of, if we're staying right here, that's what the elections of Zohar Mamdani, these three candidates, and these House members as well, state House members as well. That's what that's showing you. If you go back in time a little bit, that's what the elections of AOC, Ayanna Presley, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. That's what that is showing you. Cori Bush, the like is showing you there is an appetite and a hunger amongst people within Congress and amongst the Democratic voter base that we do want to see change. You look at any poll on like expanding healthcare access. You look at any poll on education and how we need to be doing more to get people out of student loan debt and make college more affordable. You look at anything when it comes to transportation, when it comes to again transportation, education, housing, when it comes to elder care, so social security, when it comes to things like this, there's solutions and policies that people at large agree on and would agree on. However, depending on how it's framed to you, depending on who you're hearing it from, depending on who's saying it, it could be a boogeyman thing and a bad thing. And again, ultimately, we need more people, more candidates standing up, running for these kind of policies, running for these beliefs, and we need a Democratic Party and leaders within the Democratic Party that are going to support these people and not call them out and not say that they need to just go and form their own party. In addition to Jamie Harrison and Josh Gottheimer and Tom Swazi, coming out against these new candidates. James Carville, a very historic figure within the Democratic Party, also came out and said, like we need to be done with these people. Like, yeah, the Democratic Party is a large tent, but I don't fit in the tent with them. That's what he's saying. He's saying, he can fit in the
It
tent
don't
with the
matter. He'll
Republicans,
be.
the conservatives.
It don't matter. He'll be dead soon anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And that's and to your point,
That's to my point. I'm not.
that can't be the hope of the which is fun, but that can't be the hope of for the party is, oh well, the older wing is eventually gonna retire
Oh,
and they're
you're
gonna
right.
replace
You're
whatever.
right.
I know what you're saying,
You no, you're absolutely right. But
but that doesn't happen now.
I'm not listening to a man who was a Clinton. He was a Clinton. He worked in the Clinton administration, and he is 30 some odd years behind the eight ball.
Hmm.
I can't. So he can be through with these people. I'm because I've been through. They're through with him.
Hmm.
He is in the for fact of the matter. People like him are on legacy media because that's who they want to go to.
Hmm.
They want to have him and um, people like him, like the old Republican black lieutenant governor of Virginia, Michael, and the old head of the RNC being on MS now, and
Yeah,
these
yeah,
these middle of the road politicians.
yeah.
That's not politics now. And these, I want to give a look. I want to give a little historical education, maybe even to you, son, because the term progressive and socialist it's been going on for years. The simple fact of the matter is, I want everyone to understand the only reason we have half of the things, majority of the things that are for working people is because of progressive legislation. It's because of progressive presidents. FDR was a progressive. Back in, how do you think the country got out of the recession? You don't think people they railed against Social Security? They railed against Medicaid. FDR set up SNAP.
Hmm.
Granted, I will throw a little parenthesis. He excluded black people from all that shit so he can get it passed. But these were progressive policies.
Hmm.
And the crazy thing is the person that was more progressive than him shared the same last name. Theodore Roosevelt was a true progressive to the point he believed in woman suffrage. He fought for a minimum wage. This is back in 1912. He fought for minimum wage. He fought for women to be able to vote. He wanted a 40-hour work week.
Hmm.
All these things, but when he left office and William Taft was his successor and when Taft became president, he was more conservative and he did not expand on Roosevelt's agenda. So what did Roosevelt do? He started a third party. What was the name of that party? The Progressive Party. And what wound up happening? They fought and they wind up all three of them wind up going on the ballot. And you got Woodrow Wilson, and you got one of the most racist daggone presidents ever because he turned back the clock and excluded black people from being in the federal workforce, and Jim Crow and segregation blew up. And I am disgusted because the high school that was across town from me that was our rival high school was Woodrow Wilson High School. Because why? Because I think at some point he lived in Camden, New Jersey, or something like that.
Mm.
But he was a racist, and it turned out to be an all black and brown fucking city. I hope they actually changed it. I need to check to see if they changed the name of that school by now, because
Shit,
he was
hopefully.
horrible. But anyway, this infighting, what we're going through right now, it's going on forever.
Hmm.
It used to be, before your time, son, it used to be what they called the Blue Dog Democrats. They were Southern Democrats, they were very conservative, and they
Hmm.
said the only way the Democratic Party was going to win blue seats in the South is they had to have these conservative people that may have been pro-gun, anti-abortion. We couldn't be set on these principles because we needed to brighten up the tent.
Hmm.
But what they can't open their eyes to, the one thing they can't open their eyes to and open up the tent is what? Not being capitalist and not licking the boots of corporations.
Hmm.
Socialism is bad, but you're a big tent.
Yep. That's
This
ridiculous.
country is only 250 years old. You may have not gotten it right.
One of the youngest
You may have
countries.
not gotten it right yet. Think like that. You may have not gotten it right before you actually just shut the door on new ideals. The reason why a lot of these idiots voted for Trump because they thought it was something new. I don't know how,
Hmm.
but they wanted a change candidate,
Go for the
allegedly.
lie. Yeah.
What do you got for us before we end up?
Uh, man. The last thing to kind of deviate from some of the issues that we were talking about was it's one thing, but it's kind of two things. So one thing in two parts. Um, One recently, it just came out this week in Texas. The the Texas State Board of Education approved a mandatory. I'll say this again. I'll set it up again. The Texas State Board of Education approved a mandatory statewide reading list that includes Bible stories and um, and passages for public school students, all of them. And this
Mhm.
curriculum change makes Texas the first state in the nation that requires biblical literature and stories across multiple grade levels. So, and as early as elementary school, Students will be expected to read stories like David and Goliath and passages from like the books of Exodus, and then older students are going to read specific passages and parables and excerpts about Jesus and all of that. And it's the separation of church and state. That is something that exists. And it's funny, I was even thinking about this the other day before I even saw this that came up. I was looking at some coins and I was just seeing and if you look at any US currency, it's all over the place. If you look in the currency, if you look in the if you have a passport, if you look in the Constitution, it's a lot of stuff about God. It's a lot of stuff that's about a specific religion, that's pointing to a specific religion. And the First Amendment says you have the freedom of religion. It's it's illegal, or maybe not illegal, because that's not the right thing to say in this term, but there's supposed to be, as I said, a separation of church and state. So there shouldn't be any intertwinement between the state and the church, any specific religions. So you have that just happened in Texas, and then this week you had the announcement of a report that was done by a commission that Donald Trump put together last May. So last year he formed a commission. It's called the what was it? I have it right here. The Religious Liberty Commission. And on this, he had different religious leaders, different political leaders as well. And what they were doing is they were exploring the impact that religion has on society, on the founding fathers and how they shaped the country, and how religion should have impact on society, as we move forward. So the report in the commission is chaired by the Lieutenant Governor of
Oh,
Texas, yeah, Dan Patrick. Um,
he's a
and
woozy.
yeah, and basically they're finding what they came back with um, is we need to get rid of the separation of church and state, and we need to bridge, the relationship and the gap between the church and the state. And what that is kind of just like outcomes like what happened in Texas. We need more prayer and Bibles in schools. They applauded the one of the recent Supreme Court decisions that expanded the right for religious expression in public spaces, like creating like religious opt-outs if parents or people objected to certain things that are being taught in schools and lessons that were being taught in class. They're trying to eliminate an amendment that forbids political activities by tax exempt religious groups. They want to compensate military service members who were discharged for refusing to take the COVID-19 vaccine. It's a lot of cultural warrior things, or not cultural warrior, but like cultural grievance things that they're trying to atone for. But also it's mainly when it comes to religion. So again, there is no attack on religion in this country, specifically on the religion of Christianity, and that's what all of this is coming out of. They feel like people are getting away from religion. They feel like as a country we need to get closer to God, the one and true God in Jesus Christ, and we need his teachings and stuff to the point where we need it in the schools, and we need national prayer um, daily and all the time. And again, it's just so foreign, and it goes so against the principles of this country and what we're supposed to stand for. But that has been this modern version of the Republican Party. It has been the Republican Party to go against the interest of the people, to go against the Constitution, and yet all the rhetoric you hear is how these socialists that are popping up and winning these elections, how they are anti-American, how they're the American haters, how they're the reason why our country sucks. And if you have grievances, if you think there's a problem with the country, then you should just leave, even though they think there's problems with America and that we need to become great again, and yet it's perfectly fine for them to have those objections. So just keep an eye on it. And whatever your religion is, you shouldn't be for this. And it's funny that it happened in Texas, because in Texas, that's one of the main states where there's a lot of the anti-Muslim sentiment going on, and how they're so afraid of Sharia law being imposed. That's exactly what this is. Sharia law is just teachings from the Bible. It's how the Bible says, or the Quran. It's how the Holy Book says that you should be living your life and how you should live. That's the Bible. That's what you want taught too. So it's fine for your religion, but it's not fine for the other religion. You're going around and saying how there's a big problem. You want to put it into the state platform that we're against Sharia law, and yet you're trying to impose that one on all of your students and your kids. It's indoctrination, but you want to push that project to go nationally. It's gross, it's nasty, it's un-American, and it's unconstitutional. But again, that's directly in the mold of this current version of the Republican Party, which is why we need a strong Democratic Party. So shout out to Zoran Mamdani and all the primary candidates that just won, and hopefully we see a lot more of these candidates stand up around the country.
To add on a little bit, that is unconstitutional because they'll probably use state rights. But the argument that you can use against any person that says this is a Christian nation and it was founded as a Christian nation is Article 11, the treaty with Tripoli, signed by the third president of the United States, John Adams, which stated that America is not a Christian nation. We are a nation of religious freedom. This was signed with during the Treaty of Tripoli because Tripoli, which is now Libya, was afraid of falling into a treaty with the United States because it was a Muslim nation. And they made it known and put in the treaty and made it known to everyone that they would deal with that this was not a Christian nation. This nation was founded on religious freedom and separation of church and state. I don't care what you evangelists think. Sorry. And to add to that just a little bit more, you worship the same God. You just use a different book.
Mhm.
Muslims do not worship the Prophet Muhammad as God. Their God is God. Muhammad is a prophet. They respect Jesus as a prophet, as the Son of God. If you read something, you would know these things.
Mhm.
Sorry. My last point is about Texas also. As Texas goes, America goes. And I say that because the backlash is coming from outside of Texas. Jasmine Crockett, representative who ran for Senate and lost
Mhm.
to James Tallarico. She is getting backlash because, well, she is not campaigning for James Tallarico, but she's going around the country campaigning for other Democrats.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of progressives, people on the left, what are upset with her because she is not campaigning in Texas for James Tallarico. And I take the sentiments that many people say. She ran, she lost. Many of you people said that y'all liked her as a candidate, but y'all didn't think that she could win. So y'all voted for the white man who was a Christian and said all the right things and was open minded to gay people and black people and just Christ like, but are upset that the black delegation in Texas is not sold on this man, and they want Jasmine Crockett to rally for him.
Hmm.
Let's be clear. That woman ran a campaign, and you said she didn't. Y'all people said she didn't run a good enough campaign. We had many people go on Beyonce's internet again and be interviewed and said they love Jasmine. White people saying they love Jasmine, but they didn't think she could win in Texas, so they was going to vote for somebody else. So why are black people in Texas obligated to vote for him if he does not earn those people in Texas vote? Now, granted, in the last week now, he's starting to go to black churches. He's starting to do things and try to reach out to the black people. But Jasmine Crockett can do for one, on the night that she lost, she conceded and she did endorse Tellerico that night
Hmm.
in her statement. For her to be able to be going up and down Texas, that woman, first of all, she's still a member of Congress. Second of all, she's trying to get some people and campaigning for other people. I don't agree with the people that she campaigning with for.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with the Wesley Bell, and
Hmm.
I didn't agree with the governor in California. But so be it, because she is a limited progressive in my because she's still Texas and she took APAC money and she's all about the oil shit. So it's just like she don't fall into everything, all the boxes that I would want.
Yeah.
But I understand her being where she's from and where she her dish she follows those policies. Yeah, but to make it where as though this black woman is obligated
Hmm.
to endorse and run up and down for the opponent you wouldn't ask no white person to do that. They, she endorsed him the night of. Y'all said this is your candidate. He needs to sell himself to Crockett constituents.
Hmm.
End of story. It's not her job to sit there and tell the people that voted for her to vote for him like these jokers do. We need to. I seen plenty of people with Republicans. We need to just come together as one now and support our candidate. Just fuck that. You earn my vote. You don't get anything because you got a D or R next to your name.
Hmm.
I didn't vote for you in the primary. You need to sell me why I need to vote for you in the general. I don't think it's anything but a witch hunt, and it's just unfair. And if you don't like her, fine. But the bottom line is she doesn't owe anyone anything when it comes, because you already picked your candidate. Obviously, that wasn't her candidate. She ran against him.
Hmm.
If she thought he was such a strong candidate, and granted, they don't have too much daylight between them on the policies. They didn't. They
Yeah.
truly didn't. So, but you chose this one. Go with it. You got anything to add to that?
I was to say, yeah. I mean, to your point, it's not on her. Like you said, she ran, she was running against him, so it's not on her. And I also, to your point, I don't agree with some of the candidates that she is going around and endorsing. Becerra out in California, like you said, Wesley Bell. Like there's certain candidates that, especially for the candidate she tried to portray herself to be, is kind of her endorsements are kind of putting,
But she's
putting
APAC
going against
born.
that. But and
She's
that's
an APAC. She's an APAC
and
candidate.
And that's the thing.
And
She was very, and she was at first, and she was quiet because she was quiet on the issue of Israel. So like I don't think she was too pro anything, but she was just, I'm just not gonna say anything. That was her. But obviously it's a big issue within the Democratic Party, but also you're running for Senate, so you're gonna get questions on it. So then she had to basically pick a position and say something. But I think her thing was APAC and also crypto too, and
yep.
she's taking a lot of money from these from the crypto lobby. So I think both of those issues kind of clouded her judgment and stuff. I don't know, but I agree with your point that it's not on her to go around to campaign for, especially. I mean, I don't. I feel like to they're unfair to the losing candidates when they do that. I do understand, like, yes, like now we have to move forward as a party. I do understand that, but it shouldn't be on that one specific person. They tried to do that with Bernie Sanders when he lost to Hillary Clinton back in 2016.
Both times.
Even though he actually did campaign for both Hillary Clinton and also Joe Biden, not only campaigned and endorsed,
They stole.
endorsed them.
They stole the nominations both times.
Yeah,
Bernie Sanders should have been the nominee both
both
times.
both
And
times.
guess what? They may have lost. They may have, but they did lose again in 16. And they
Yeah,
may have lost in 20 also. But he should have been the nominee.
I
They've
would.
rigged it.
He should have been the nominee. I would say he could. Mm, they had a shot to win in 2016. I do believe if that was Bernie Sanders and not Hillary Clinton, I think Hillary Clinton, even though she won the popular vote, she didn't win in those specific states because you know how
She
the
didn't campaign.
because she didn't campaign appropriately there. Bernie Sanders had a presence in Michigan. He had a presence in Pennsylvania. He had a presence in a lot of these swing states, and they also, as much as people were voting for Donald Trump as the change candidate, they were also voting. There were a lot of people who voted against Hillary Clinton or stayed home because they did not like Hillary Clinton
Yes.
specifically. So, if you had a different nominee, if you had a Bernie Sanders, who most people don't know, but all you know is that the issues that he's running on, I do think that
But
it
they
would
would
have
have
played out
yeah, but
differently.
they would have labeled him a socialist.
Of course, and he would have said, and what would he have said? Why? Because I believe in all these policies that you also believe in. So that's why I was saying in 2016, I still think you could have got it done, but I could see the argument
And
in 2020 after you
he
have a
was a
Trump.
white man. He
And
was an old
yes,
white man.
so I would say in 2020, after you have a Trump presidency for 4 years, after you see what his version of change would be, if you contrast that with Bernie's version of change, oh, oh no, in 2020, I see no way. The Democrats weren't losing that election. I would say that the
Young
Democrats were
people
not
would have
losing
came
that
out.
election.
Young people would have
Yes,
came out. Young people would
yes,
have came out.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it still would have been. I still think it would have been the largest turnout in an election as well, just like 2020 already ended up being. But I do think Bernie would have had a better shot of winning in 2020 as well. But that ought to say, it's not on Jasmine Crockett to go out and endorse. Like Tyler Rico's, he can do it himself. The Democratic Party, they should be putting the resources towards the state to do it. But calling out Jasmine Crockett for not going out and doing it,
Or
that
you
doesn't make
just
any sense. Yeah.
or you just get what you deserve. You get Ken Paxton.
Or
You get what you deserve.
which ultimate and we can, as the campaign season progresses and moves on, we'll see how the poll, like what the polling is looking like and stuff like that. But I mean, man, they got it. That I feel like Texas. At the end of the day, Texas is going to Texas. So
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
ultimately, who knows? Especially who knows what turnout's going to look like. Come election day or like
And how many people they're going to throw off the voter rolls and what
Mhm.
kind of bullshit they going to pull and
Yeah.
all that.
So
Yeah.
so
So it's like
it'll be interesting.
it's going to be crazy. But to end it tonight, we're going to have a video, and I want to intro this video. I didn't, and as usual, I didn't share the video with Dallas, so I'm doing this now so I can actually educate. I can still educate my son on some things that I knew that he may didn't know, and actually educate our viewers on what is going on now. It's often says if you don't know history, history often repeats itself. And what is going on now in this place that is so-called America is nothing new. This is an empire,
Hmm.
and this empire is going through distress. Um, at the same time, I like to believe that we, you and I, are on the right side of history. 30 years from now, being progressive and having a left mindset is going to be a norm. And you actually come out of these dark times in sunlight and emerge in a different place. Sometimes, especially when you're dealing with, like I said, next week, this week coming up, this country will be celebrating 250 years. It's a very, very young nation. And in all actuality, everyone in this nation didn't have complete rights until the last 60 years. Interesting, Dallas. Do you know that your father is the first person in your lineage actually born? His generation was born with actual full rights in this country.
Mm.
Your grandmother, who was born in 1956, still was living under Jim Crow, and it was before the Voters' Rights Act.
Hmm.
I am the first, my generation is the first one. My cousin, our oldest cousin, was the first one born that had full rights and voting rights. He will be 59 or yeah, 59 this year, 58 or 59. So when they say to you and everybody, that was a long time ago,
Hmm.
you can say, my nana didn't have rights when she was born.
Yeah.
I'm smiling and laughing, and he's not because he's taking in how serious that is. And you wonder why, when you was a kid and when y'all was kids, I would take y'all to the polls with me when I would go vote, and I instilled how important it was and how
Hmm.
people bled and died for this
Hmm.
because they did. And I knew because I heard the stories from my grandfather, my grandmother about Jim Crow South.
Man,
My mother didn't have rights when she was born. She did.
what a shame.
This is going to come to an end, like everything before it that was dirty and evil came to an end. I want I want to shout out this creator, um, the Baroness. I love her format and her channel because she educates and she talks about history and real shit that is unbiased. It's just facts, but it's just facts about the reality. Majority is to what goes on with people that look like us and what they did in history. But sometimes it's like this one, it's just talking about political structures and empires. And don't get it twisted. This country is an empire,
Hmm.
and it's on a teeter-tottering balance. But let's find out about empires similar to this and what happened before it. And we're gonna leave you with that, and then we'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I need y'all to pay attention to a historical pattern that almost nobody's talking about. Because every major empire in history, right before things start falling apart, does the same thing. They become something. Not stronger, not freer, not more democratic. Meaner, more paranoid, more obsessed with controlling people, more obsessed with enemies inside their own borders. And almost every single time, the people who lose rights first are the minorities. Political descendants, religious minorities, the people easiest to scapegoat when the empire starts panicking. Rome did it, Britain did it, the Soviet Union did it, and right now, the United States is doing it. So let's start with Rome, because people love romanticizing Rome, right? The architecture, the soldier, the aesthetics, the little TikTok edits with the dramatic music, you know? But Rome got paranoid toward the end. In the late 200s and early 300s, the empire became deeply paranoid about the internal enemies. One of the groups they targeted heavily? Christians. Emperor Diocletian launched what historians now call the Great Persecution. Churches destroyed, sacred texts burned, Christians stripped of legal protections, removed from government and military positions, imprisoned, tortured, and executed publicly. Now, here's the part people miss. Rome did not do that at the height of its confidence. Rome did that while the empire was already destabilizing. Economic problems, political instability, leadership crises, internal fragmentation. The cruelty was not proof that the empire was strong. See, the cruelty was proof that the empire was scared. Rome fell less than 200 years later. Now we're going to jump forward. The British Empire controlled roughly a quarter of the planet at its peak. And what happened during its decline? Did Britain lose its grip? No, it squeezed harder. In India, British troops opened fire on unarmed Indian civilians, trapped in an enclosed area. Hundreds were killed. Then Kenya in the 1950s. The British built detention camps during the Mau Mau uprisings. People detained without trial. Torture, forced labor, beatings, executions. And Britain spent years trying to hide the records. That's another thing that empires do when they're panicking. They start destroying receipts. And despite all that violence, the empire still collapsed. Because repression is not stability, y'all. It is a symptom that stability is already gone. Now, the same thing with the Soviet Union. The closer the USSR got to collapse, the more paranoid the state became. Surveillance increased, dissidents monitored constantly. Critics labeled mentally ill and locked in psychiatric hospitals. Ethnic minorities targeted and deported. The government itself became obsessed with controlling internal thought, all because the system itself was weakening. And when the repression itself finally loosened under Gorbachev, the whole thing collapsed almost immediately because the state had spent decades holding itself together through force instead of trust. Now, this is the part that should make people uncomfortable, because look at what's happening right now. The Voting Rights Act gutted multiple times in just over a decade. Affirmative action struck down, book bans, attacks on Black history curriculum, DEI dismantled across federal institutions, birthright citizenship under attack, universities pressured politically, mass deportation infrastructure expanding, protest rights increasingly criminalized, government pressure on media and education. That's the part people keep missing. These things rarely happen all at once. Empires do it piece by piece, slow enough for people to normalize each stage before the next one arrives. And what keeps bothering me is this. Every empire thinks that it's the exception. Rome thought Rome would last forever. Britain thought the sun would never set on the empire. The Soviet Union thought its system was permanent. All of them collapsed during the lifetime of people who thought collapse was impossible. That's why history matters. Not because history repeats itself perfectly, it doesn't, but because power repeats behavior constantly. And one of the oldest behaviors in the history of empires is this. When systems start failing internally, they look for someone to blame externally. Minorities, immigrants, descendants, teachers, journalists. Literally, anybody easier to punish than the people actually causing the collapse. The pattern is older than this country itself, and pretending not to see it has never stopped it from happening.
We're going to look at what we call suggestibility.
The male-female dynamic. There's actually another way of thinking.
Oh, wow. Thank you, brother. You
Yeah.
know all that.
Check out Beyond the Mind, produced by Peach ENT, Fridays at 8 p.m.
Maserati go crazy.